Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. Every month, I love to feature some of the plants that have been really, especially on my radar, that I've been really loving and enjoying. And so now it's time for my November favorites. These are in no particular order, but first and foremost is my Hoya obovata. And there was a video I released earlier this month in which I potted up a lot of propagations, and I had taken like I think 2 cuttings of this plant. In that video I put them back into the pot, and now I have a very nice and full Hoya obovata, which makes me so unbelievably happy, you guys. You have no idea. I think the first Hoya obovata that I saw and actually like really fell in love with was Becca's Hoya obovata, Becca de la Plants, because she has a really nice big full one and a macrame hanger. And when I saw it, it stole my heart, and I knew I want a Hoya obovata like that one. And of course, like, this is nowhere near her Hoya obovata. I think about 2 years ago now, I bought a cutting of a Hoya obovata, and that was what this plant started out as. It was just a cutting, and I bought that off of Reddit. I grew it out a little bit, and then I took cuttings, and now I potted it together. And yeah, it's taken a long time to get to this point because it was a really slow grower at first. Honestly, it probably had flat mites without me even knowing about it, and then there was a whole flat mite apocalypse during which everyone realized, oh my gosh, we all have these pests and we have to treat our Hoyas for them. But there is a little bit of new growth that's on its way. That will be kind of the next section of leaves, and hopefully each one of these cuttings also puts off new growth points. And yeah, so I'm just kind of awaiting what this plant will become. This month in particular, I got one step closer to achieving my dream of having like a really big, lush Hoya obovata. My next favorite plant of the month is an anthurium, and this is an anthurium hybrid that I got from Carnivoro, and I actually unboxed it on this channel maybe at the beginning of the summer. I think that this was an early birthday present to me because my birthday is the end of May. It has grown so well for me, you guys. This has been such an easy grower. I haven't even said the name of the plant yet. I was getting ahead of myself. This is an anthurium dark crystallinum crossed with papillaminum, and just this is the newest leaf. It's still hardening off. Look at that leaf shape, and look at that sinus. Just like, oh, it's so good. This is the leaf before it. It's so dark and velvety. This leaf looks even more gorgeous, and it does have kind of that reddish hue as the leaves are coming in. And I think when I got this plant, it only had like these 3 leaves. This one's yellowing off, but yeah, so it's given me 3 leaves since. So this was the first leaf it gave me, and then this one, and now this one. And I mean, okay, to be fair, I am growing it in my greenhouse cabinet, so it does have pretty ideal conditions, but every time I look at this plant, it just takes my breath away. I am obsessed with it. It is continuing to fuel my obsession with anthurium. And look at these juicy roots. I am loving growing these plants, especially anthurium, in clear pots. I am pretty certain that I featured this as a favorite before, maybe a few months ago, when maybe this new leaf was coming in, but like, it has continued to impress me a lot. My next favorite plant also resides in the greenhouse cabinet, but not for long. I've had this plant on my favorites list multiple times, and it's my philodendron gigas. Honestly, I'm pretty sure this philodendron gigas is up there in my list of all-time favorite plants. Definitely one of my absolute most favorite philodendron, and that's pretty bold for me because I don't like claiming, oh, this is like my favorite plant of all time, because I feel like that changes a lot. But honestly, I don't really see that changing with this plant. It just grows so well. It grows so perfectly along this moss pole. Like, the petiole length is not very long, so it just like lays really nicely along the pole, and the new leaves come in this gorgeous color. Look at that. Oh my goodness. And look at how big this leaf is. It sizes up really nicely. And I got this plant when the leaves were this big, just a handful of leaves, not even a year ago. So this entire, like I grew this basically from scratch. So like, that's pretty cool. I am so proud of this plant and the fact that I was able to grow it to this point. And as you can see, it's growing off the top of the pole. So I need to add another extension, and that will be the longest pole I have yet in my collection. And hopefully it's sturdy enough to not topple over. I'm actually a little bit nervous about it getting super top heavy. And I'm also a little bit nervous because that will most likely require me to remove this from the greenhouse cabinet, which I'm not really looking forward to because that's been growing so well in there. Let's take another few moments to admire the foliage before I move on. Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. It's so dark and beautiful. And I love the leaf shape and it's so unique. I love it. I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about is that I would like to create kind of more of a moss pole setup, if that makes sense. I would like to create a space that is dedicated to moss poles, but that will most likely require me to use a grow light, and I think it'll have to be in my bedroom so that it's out of reach of my children because I've got a couple of toddlers toddling around and I do not trust them with a bunch of plants that are on moss poles. I don't know, let me know if you guys have a moss pole setup specifically, or like how you display the plants that you have, especially if you have really long moss poles. That'd be really helpful because I've been trying to kind of research and get inspo to figure out what kind of a setup I want to have, because for the grow light, I don't think I want it to be from the top down. I think I want it to be like facing the plants head on, so to maximize the amount of light they're getting. So yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about it, but I just haven't settled on what kind of a setup I want to invest in. The next plant on my favorites list is a Hoya Carnosa compacta variegata. And if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, there are a few videos where I've featured this, and I think every single time I've talked about it, I've expressed my woes concerning this plant. I've had a lot of issues with it. I've had root rot, I've had mealybugs, I've had flat mites, but now I feel like we're finally approaching a place of steadiness. Just look, it's growing and it's happy. Look. There's a new growth point starting right there with some fresh new leaves. Look at how adorable. Oh my gosh. The thing I am obviously most excited about, look at these new leaves that just came out like last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever. Do you see how it's literally hot pink? I feel so fortunate with this coloring. It is so fun. Oh my gosh. If this plant starts throwing out more leaves like this, I'm gonna be just head over heels, absolutely obsessed. But yeah, I'm just honestly relieved that this plant finally seems to be pretty happy, and I've always loved this plant. I've always wanted it to grow well for me, and the whole time that I've had it, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. The original part of the plant that I purchased is only this one. This was a new plant that I got over the summer, but it like still wasn't doing that great until now. So kind of like the Hoya obovata, I had like a Hoya obovata of my dreams, like in my mind's eye, and I have a Hoya Carnosa compacta variegata of my dreams in my mind's eye. With this new growth and everything and this color, we're approaching that vision, and it makes me pretty happy for obvious reasons. The next plant that is just bringing a smile to my face every time I see it is my philodendron splendid. And wow, we are getting to a point where this plant is just so freaking attractive. I also am gonna need to add a moss pole extension to this. It will also be like a third moss pole section. So again, that is increasing my pressing need to have like a dedicated moss pole section that is ideal for plants that are growing up poles, because right now I just don't really have that. They're kind of thrown into somewhat awkward positions, and I feel like they're just not getting the ideal conditions that they need unless they're in the cabinet. But even so, the light is top down and I just feel like it's not quite as nice. But anyways, talking about the splendid. Okay, this is a new leaf right here. Look at that color, and the size is getting pretty good. It's definitely sizing up compared to, like, especially like look at this leaf. This is just like 2 leaves ago. And now we're here, and so I'm like, dude, are you gonna keep sizing up? If you are, I will be so happy. I've heard that the philodendron splendid is pretty dang good at sizing up and it grows very quickly. I mean, it clearly does, honestly. Oh, down here there's also like a relatively new leaf. I actually have 2 plants in here. I would say on the whole, I am just so pleased with how this plant has grown for me. I actually got this plant originally as just a freebie on Plant Haven Toronto along with my order. And I mean, I was happy when I got it, but it was definitely like a little bit scraggly. It was like a butt cut and it was, you know, it wasn't like a huge gorgeous plant. But I ended up growing it out a little bit, then I chopped it up and all of the cuttings rooted up so well. And I still have 2 more cuttings that are growing out that, I mean, I guess I could theoretically add it to this plant, but I don't want it to get too crazy or unruly. Like, I'm pretty content with how full it is right now, but I've given like another portion of the plant away in a trade, and just all in all, like when I think about that tiny scraggly plant that I got as a freebie, I have gotten so much out of it in less than a year. And I mean, I've seen other people have philodendron splendid, so I'm pretty familiar with like what this plant is capable of becoming. And to my understanding, it also just sizes up really, really quickly, really, really nicely. And I'm just so excited to see what it does in the future. The next and final plant and my November favorites is my goeppertia zebrina. And wow, you guys, just let's take a moment to appreciate how beautiful this plant is. And I've got some new growth happening. This is another new leaf that's just unfurling down here. You see that right there? I just love this plant. It has to be way up there in terms of the plants that I own that are from the Marantisiae family. I went through a period of time when this plant like was not really growing well for me, but I'm very pleased to report that it's like actually doing really well again now. Like, look at that. I mean, obviously, like, it's not perfect. The leaves are not totally immaculate. Like, I think at least 1 or 2. I mean, here's an old leaf that's kind of dying off, and there are some that have slightly crispy tips, but like nothing substantial. When you just look at the plant for itself, it just is breathtaking. And it's slightly velvety, it's very soft, the leaves, and I love the way that the leaves look and how much contrast there is. This plant is not always the easiest plant to deal with. I mean, I've been through my fair share of hardships with this plant, let's be real. Hang on, my daughter just woke up for a nap. Did you sleep well? Yeah. Yeah, she has a little bit of a cold. Yeah, are you still sleepy? Okay, mommy's filming a video. I'll be done in 5 minutes, okay?
The show is right here.
Yeah, do you want to go watch a show for 5 minutes while I finish?
Yep.
Okay, say hello, my beautiful buds.
Hello, beautiful buds.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just lay down for a few minutes. I'll be right with you. I don't know if I can even remember what I was saying about this plant. Oh, hardships, maybe? Yeah, this plant has had spider mites like 3 times, and it's also had mealybugs before, but thankfully not like a huge outbreak of mealybugs. But we have persisted and prevailed. It responded decently well to treatment, although the first time I treated it for spider mites, I was a little bit too rough, so the leaves really suffered as a result. But it's all the more rewarding because now it looks like this, and it's really happy, and it's growing even though it's getting colder and there's not as much light. Like, it's still growing and it's still happy, which is super encouraging to me. Well, my kiddos need me, so I'd best be going, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All those things are super helpful for my channel. And I did also just create a buy me a coffee account. I'll have that linked down below, but if you want to help out my channel a little bit and support it, I mean, I work really, really hard and I love making videos, but like AdSense does not give me a lot of money because I'm a pretty small creator. But if you want to support me, buy me a coffee, so to speak, that's super helpful. Obviously, you don't have to. Anyways, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye!